You can live another 10 years just like that. With the same thoughts, with the same level, with the same fatigue, and wake up again one morning and ask, why hasn't anything changed? Or you can watch this video to the end, because at the very end, you'll get a practice, not from a book, not from a motivational seminar, but from life, from pain, from realization. It turns on the brain, it turns on the body, and it starts movement. But it only works if you get to it. Look, most people don't lose because of a lack of talent. They lose quietly because of habits that slowly extinguish them. Not the kind of problems that slap you in the face, but the kind that wrap around you like a warm blanket. The ones that whisper, "It's okay, we'll figure it out later. Right now, just lie down." Everybody lives like this. And while you're lying there, the day turns into a year. Fatigue becomes a way of life. And you, yourself, start to look like a person who forgot what he wanted to do in the first place. But today you will remember, because I'm going to tell you why your money hasn't been working for you, why your hard work never became freedom, and why changing this doesn't require millions, it requires a shift. Today you'll hear a practical model that can lead to financial independence, a model that works, but only for those who stop waiting. Because if you don't watch till the end, you'll go back to scrolling. And scrolling never made anyone rich. Scrolling never built legacy, and it never paid a single bill. So I invite you to pause your distractions, to make this moment matter, because this video isn't just a collection of ideas, it's a conversation, a turning point, maybe the one you've been needing. This isn't just about investing, it's about identity, about how to stop being a worker and start becoming an owner. Are you ready? Let's begin. When I was younger, I thought working hard was the goal. Put in the hours, grind, sacrifice, sleep when you're dead. And to be honest, that hustle got me far. But it didn't get me free. One night, my mentor sat across from me, looked me dead in the eye and said, "Jim, you've been working your whole life, but your work isn't leaving a legacy." That hit like a punch in the gut, because he was right. I was making money, but the moment I stopped moving, the money stopped too. That was my first real awakening. Money you earn is not the same as money that works. I started to ask myself questions that felt uncomfortable. Could I create a system that works even when I don't? Could I wake up one day not needing to clock in to survive? And here's what I realized. It's not about how much you make. It's about what you do with what you make. You see, most people in America will earn over $1 million in their lifetime. But how many will keep even 10% of it? We're so focused on making more, we never stop to ask, is my money doing anything when I'm not looking? Every dollar is like a tiny worker, and most people just let theirs sit on the couch, doing nothing, or worse, they spend them the second they show up and wonder why they're always tired, always chasing, always broke. But what if you could build a team? What if your money started clocking in for you? I started to treat every dollar like a soldier. I gave it orders. You, go buy assets. You, earn interest. You, sit tight for now, but be ready. And slowly I stopped working for money. Money started working for me. That's the shift. That's the secret. And once you feel it, even just once, you'll never look at a paycheck the same way again. And don't get me wrong, this isn't about getting rich overnight. It's about getting free on purpose. And that's exactly what this video is, a map out of survival mode. At the end, I'll give you a simple tool that makes your money stop sleeping, but only if you stay with me till then. Because information doesn't change lives, application does. Imagine this, every single dollar in your pocket is like a new hire. Some people treat them like interns, temporary, disposable, spend it, swipe it, forget it. But wealthy people, they treat every dollar like an asset on payroll. They say, if I'm going to trade my life energy to earn you, then you better be working for me when I'm not around. Now picture this, you walk into your office and you see 1,000 employees just sitting there, doing nothing, no productivity, no returns, just waiting to be spent. Would you keep paying them? Of course not. But that's what most people do every month. They earn money, then send it off to entertain, to impress, to escape. It's not about being cheap, it's about being strategic. When you see money as your employee, not your reward, everything shifts. I once met a man 62 years old, white hair, tired eyes, he sat across from me and said, "Jim, it's too late for me. I've worked my whole life and I have nothing to show for it." And I'll be honest, for a second, I didn't know what to say because I've heard that line so many times. But then I looked him in the eye and said, "It's only too late if you stop now." We didn't build a magic formula. We built a discipline. 10% of his income into index funds, 5% into an interest-bearing account. The rest? We simplified. No fancy tricks. And guess what? In 2 years, he had more saved than in the 40 years before. Not because he earned more, but because he finally gave every dollar a job. No lottery, no crypto gamble, no overnight hack, just a decision. A shift in philosophy. Most people say, "I wish I started earlier," but the real tragedy is never starting at all. So here's my question to you. Are your dollars working, or are they watching Netflix with you? Because here's the thing, money never sleeps. It either works for you or for someone else. I always tell people, every time you spend a dollar, you're casting a vote. A vote for short-term pleasure or for long-term power. You buy a $300 pair of sneakers you didn't need, that's a vote for appearance. You invest that same $300 in an index fund, that's a vote for freedom. Every dollar is a ballot, and your financial life is the sum of the votes you've cast. That's why this isn't about how much you earn, it's about how you think. I know people who make $200,000 a year and feel broke, and others who make $45,000 and sleep like kings. Because they don't just earn, they own. They own their time, they own their energy, they own their choices. You're not broke, you're just undirected. Because a person with a plan will always outperform a person with high income and no clarity. Let me give you a story. I met a young guy once, barely making minimum wage, but every month, like clockwork, he invested $50. That's it, just $50. 5 years later, he had more financial confidence than people 3 times his age making 6 figures. Why? Because he trusted the process. He played the long game. And let me tell you about someone else. A woman in her 40s, single mom, full-time job, drowning in debt. She didn't make a lot, no windfall, no miracle. But she made a decision, $20 a week, every week, for 3 years. She cut subscriptions, cooked at home, said no to little things that didn't move the needle. 3 years later, she was debt-free. Not because she made more money, but because she made better decisions. She didn't change her income, she changed her identity. That's how compound interest works. It doesn't care if you're rich, it only cares if you start and if you stay. The magic isn't in big moves, it's in small ones made consistently, over and over again, until momentum kicks in. And I get it, some of you are thinking, "But I don't understand investing." That's fine. You didn't know how to drive before you sat behind the wheel either. You figured it out. And now you can't imagine not knowing how. Investing is no different. Start with one article, one YouTube video, one book, one step. You don't need a financial degree. You need direction, discipline, and the guts to begin. So here's your challenge. This week, treat $1 like it matters, because it does. Not because of its size, but because of the identity you're building behind it. Are you a spender or a builder? Are you surviving or designing? Because the second you start acting like a wealth builder, even with pocket change, your world begins to shift. Wealth isn't built by people who have the most, it's built by people who do the most with what they have. And if you're still watching, comment. That means you're not just listening, you're ready. Too many people wait for the perfect time to start. When the market is better, when I get a raise, when the kids are older, when I feel ready. But guess what? The market doesn't wait, life doesn't wait. And wealth definitely doesn't wait. You don't build freedom by timing the current. You build it by rowing, no matter the weather. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you're sitting in a boat in the middle of a river. No engine, just oars. If you don't row, if you just sit there, the current will carry you somewhere, but it won't be where you wanted to go. And that's what most people do with their money. They drift, they hope, they react, they check the market. They panic, they pull out, they chase trends, they buy high, they sell low. Because they were never really steering. They were just passengers. But investors, real investors, they don't get seasick from the waves. They're not shaken by storms. Because they have a map, a compass, and a process. You know what hurts more than failing? Regretting that you never tried. That moment when you realize you've been drifting for years and the shore is nowhere in sight. But here's the good news. The oars are still in your hands. That's the truth nobody tells you. The best investors aren't the smartest, they're the calmest. They don't make emotional decisions, they make scheduled ones. They don't wait for clarity, they create structure. For them, investing is like brushing teeth. It's boring, it's consistent, it's non-negotiable. And that's what builds real wealth. Not hype, not luck, not hustle. Habits. You don't need to catch the wave. You need to build the surfboard. So stop asking, is now a good time? And start asking, what's the plan I can follow no matter the time? Because if you rely on emotion, the market will punish you. But if you rely on system, it will reward you. Even in chaos, money respects discipline. This isn't about numbers. It's about becoming the kind of person who manages money like a leader, not like a lottery winner. I once met a guy who said, "Jim, I don't even have money to invest." So I told him, then go create it. He went home, listed everything he didn't use anymore on Facebook Marketplace. Old speakers, a mountain bike, even unused kitchen gear. He made $650 in one weekend. And instead of spending it, he opened his first investment account. That wasn't luck. That was movement. There's a force more powerful than motivation, more reliable than luck, more magical than inspiration. It's called compound interest. And it works like nature, slowly at first, then all at once. You plant a seed today. You don't wake up tomorrow and expect a tree. You water it, you give it light, you protect it from storms, and you wait. But if you keep showing up, one day without warning, the first leaf breaks the soil. And from that moment, growth becomes inevitable. That's how compound interest works. You invest $10, $50, $100, not once but regularly. And for a while it feels like nothing is happening. But one day, the line on your graph bends, not slowly, exponentially. That's not finance, that's physics. That's patience rewarded. But here's the rule no one wants to hear. It only works for those who start and don't stop. Most people quit too early. They get bored. They chase faster wins. They rip up the roots before the fruit can grow. But wealth, real lasting wealth, doesn't show up for tourists. It shows up for gardeners. People want Amazon results on a tree planting timeline. But investing doesn't care about your impatience. It cares about your discipline. Now pause. Look back for a second. How much money has passed through your hands? Now how much of it stayed? This isn't judgment. It's a wake-up call. Not because you failed, but because now you know better. And when you know better, you build better. If you saved just $10 this week, you planted a seed. If you skipped a $5 coffee and read one page of a money book, you watered it. If you tracked your expenses for the first time in months, you gave it light. And I'm here to tell you, that's not small. That's wealth-building behavior. Because again, it's not about the amount. It's about the identity behind the action. The person who acts like a builder becomes one. The person who shows up daily compounds. You don't need magic. You need consistency. You don't need a windfall. You need a watering can. You don't need to be lucky. You just need to stay. Let me ask you something simple. What kind of financial culture are you passing down? To your kids, to your partner, to the people watching you quietly from the side? Because make no mistake, they're watching. Kids don't follow advice, they follow example. If they see chaos, they absorb chaos. If they see order, they absorb discipline. If they see fear, they absorb limitation. If they see courage, they inherit permission. That's why I say, this is bigger than your bank account. This is about legacy, about being the one who changed the story in your bloodline. And you don't need millions to change that story. You just need one person to decide, starting with me, we do it differently. And if that person is you, then this wasn't just a video, it was a turning point. So now let's move from reflection to action. I want you to do a quick self-check. No pressure, no shame, just truth. Open your notes app or grab a notebook. You're not a viewer anymore, you're a participant. And participants, they change the game. Rate yourself from 1 to 10 in these 5 areas. 1, my ability to save consistently. 2, my understanding of investment tools. 3, my financial discipline. 4, how well my money works for me. 5. My willingness to take action even when it's scary. 1 means I'm struggling. 10 means I'm solid and confident. Now pause, take a look. Which one's the lowest? That's not failure. That's your next invitation. So here's your 7-day sprint. 1 simple action per day to raise that one score just by 1 point. Day 1, read an article on budgeting. Day 2, open a savings account. Day 3, cancel one wasteful subscription. Day 4, set up auto transfer, even if it's just $5. Day 5, track your expenses. Day 6, write down your reason why. Day 7, reflect and recommit. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need to prove to yourself that you've started. Because direction beats perfection. Because spoken commitment is 3 times more powerful than a silent intention. And maybe someone scrolling through the comments will see yours and take their first step too. Before we close, I want to leave you with this. How much money has passed through your hands? How much of it stayed? What legacy did it build? This isn't about guilt. This is about ownership. You already have what it takes. You're not too late. You're not behind. You're exactly on time. Because financial freedom doesn't start with money. It starts with a decision. And this moment right here, this quiet space at the end, this might be yours. Now, go. Lead. Build. Pass it on.